All right, guys, we are going to do an intro to Prong Collar video for Ray. Ray is a 10-month, almost 10-month mixed breed dog. He's about 33 pounds, not that big, but here are his notes. He's very playful, but stubborn, very athletic, gets into anything and everything, runs away, naughty, not good manners, needs to listen and learn boundaries. These are the owner's words. Has a good morning routine, but it's all downhill from there. Can get into the pantry, can get on top of the counters, into the sink, has dragged a bag of potting soil out, chews furniture, will get into anything and everything he can, has jumped out of the car before and runs away. Very, very not safe, guys. Oh man, that's not good. The owner is so frustrated she's considered leaving him. Don't leave your dog, all right? Definitely easier to manage the dog when the kids are not home, but it would really be good to have the kids on board also. I totally agree with this one. Everyone should have the whole family on board. And of course, with younger kids, there is a limit to how much the kids can do with the dog. But just as much as the dog needs to learn the right behavior around kids, the kids need to learn the right behavior around the dog. There are limitations for both. It's not fair for a 3-year-old to run up to a dog, punch him in the face, and expect the dog to not react. Not that that happened here, that's just an example, but it does happen. That's it for the notes. Let's get this party started. Ray's a good-looking dog. I like this guy. Okay, so a little before, just want to see where we are here, and of course before footage with the dog in our hands is not the same as before footage when the dog is at home, but at least we can assess just the dog without the home environment influencing the dog. So that means the parents aren't here, the families aren't here, and also the home environment is not, we're not in a home environment where the dog has previous behaviors. Okay, so how hard is he pulling? He's pulling decently. It's not hard. It's not very hard. Okay, cool. Yeah, he's definitely more excited about the surroundings than he is about people, and the family may have a slightly different experience, but the main thing to take away from this is dog checked out, no awareness of me. The only awareness of me he has right now is that he's like pulling me, and he probably thinks he's controlling me, and of course that causes him to want to pull more, and so he's basically taking the lead, and I'm just along for the ride. And real quick, how many of you out there have your dog and you're just feeling like you're along for the ride in the life that you have with your dog? Not on walks only, but just in general. You're along for the ride, the dog's running the show, doesn't feel good. There's conflict and frustration in some parts of your life that you're tired of dealing with. Well, as soon as you help your dog listen to you, follow your lead, and you control the show, and when I say control the show, that means your dog listens to you and understands the rules of the household, understands the boundaries, and you're being fair to your dog, you're gonna have a much better experience, and your dog will actually thrive more, believe it or not. And yes. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and just pull them in and try to walk them nicely, and just tell me how it feels for you trying to make them walk nicely.
That's what you meant.
Yeah.
It's actually not that bad. It's a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But it could just be because he's really not that heavy or strong.
Yeah.
So he doesn't pull as hard as some dogs with the same behaviors. I don't think he would slow down without a lot of pressure.
So you're definitely putting a lot more effort into stopping them? That's
yeah,
fine.
he still wants to be all over the place.
Cool.
Sideways, backwards, left, right, forwards, everywhere but where I want him.
All right, now go ahead and just let go of the left hand, just see where we are. Keep moving straight like you are. And then, boom. Yeah, so the sniffing, guys, the sniffing right here is what leads to the bigger distractions. As soon as the dog starts to catch a sniff, that's the first sign the dog checks out, and then one distraction leads to the next, and then all of a sudden it's a bigger challenge to have your dog listen to you. And sniffing's not a problem, but if he's already checked out and then he sees an actual specific distraction that gets him going, you're already starting from a place of no attention, and it's a lot harder to get your dog back. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get Ray started on the prong collar. We have a small prong collar here, and we've already sized it approximately. We haven't sized it specifically to his neck, but I've actually removed a few links, one link from each side. All right, guys, real quick. Believe it or not, the prong collars are designed to not hurt your dog. As scary as they look, they're actually designed to be used very, very gently for basic directional guidance. You can have a conversation with your dog in a way that you can't with other training tools. In fact, with the prong collar, the prongs evenly distributes the pressure from the leash in a way that's much different than the leash pressure when you use a regular flat collar, whether that's a regular flat buckle collar, leather, or nylon webbing. When you use the leash and you give your dog directional guidance, it puts pressure on one side of the neck. And if your dog's pulling ahead of you, we put a lot of pressure right here on the dog where they're choking themselves. And yes, even though the dog is doing it to themselves, a lot of dogs don't have a lot of regard for their own safety. When it comes to whispering to your dog and getting that conversation started, it takes very little leash pressure. Very different from using a regular flat collar where you have to use a lot more leash pressure to get the same effect. And in a lot of cases, even if you get the same effect, it still doesn't make as much sense to the dog because a lot of cases they're still learning to pull or still resisting and pulling against the leash when you use a regular flat collar. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put the prong collar on Ray and get this party started. So here, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm just going to set my carabiner. I'm going to set that aside for now. And then remember, when you put a prong collar on, you don't slide it over the dog's head. You can do that, but then you won't get a very good fit. So we really like to take the links apart. And when you fit it to your dog, you want to make sure you remove links so you can either add or remove links to size it to your dog's neck. So we're going to go around here, get it on, and oh, look at that. That's a perfect size. I guesstimated that very nicely. Just in case you are watching one of our videos for the first time, leash goes on the swivel ring. That's the one that twists and turns, and you have the dead ring. Make sure these are not crisscrossed. And we're going to take the dead ring and we're going to attach it to the flat collar with our safety. That's the carabiner. And you can get any carabiner as long as it is going to be secure and you got a good spring in there and that it is the right distance between the collars. This is pretty good. We could actually use a smaller carabiner here, but I like this aluminum one because it's really light. So I've got the prong collar at the top of the neck. The best directional guidance comes from the top of the neck. And if you were using a regular collar at the top of the neck and it's fit good, not too loose, you'll probably get an even better effect from just your flat collar than if it was lower. But if you go ahead and get a prong collar, it's going to do you even better. So let's get this guy going here. Okay, so I really like it when the dog has a people name like Ray, because when you talk about your dog to people, you don't know if you're talking about another person or not. Ray is like a ray of sunshine. I'm going to just simply change directions here, light pressure, encourage him, a little bit guidance, he moves towards it. Good, I'm tell him good. Good boy. And then we're going to go the other way, and then little guidance, and wow, he is so good. Then I'm just going to slow him down right here, and wow, a very different feel with this guy already. Good boy. Go play and release. When it comes to your release word, it doesn't matter what it is, but you do want to have a release word that is consistent. And it's a really good idea, or at least really good to consider not using okay as a release word. So we're going to just walk backwards. Ray, come, good boy. And then we're going to slow him down. Good boy. Go play, all done. Let him move away again. Come, good boy. A little encouragement, there we go. He is really good with it. Now we're going to move this way, and I'm going to do another direction change, except I'm going to make it clear to his right, to the right, right? And then, howdy neighbor.
Hi.
All right, so we're going to do another a right hand direction change. Come, good boy. And we're going to go slow with the pace, and another direction change to the right. Come, a little indicator to the right, and then I'm going to slow him down a little bit with the leash, and then we're going to turn to the left. Now, the way he was pulling earlier and the way I feel pressure here when I slow him down, very, very different. Very little pressure to lead. This is a conversation. This is not corrections and punishment, guys. The prong collar is on Ray, but this is not corrections and punishment. This is just a little bit of accountability, or a little bit of a way to lead the dog in a way that they understand, so that you can help them learn to be more in tune with you and aware of you. So with the leash now, very little pressure compared to before. So I'm basically doing my left and my right 180-degree turns. And I'm going to do one more, slow him down a little bit, turn to the left, help him with a few maneuvers. Maneuvers take more attention from the dog, or require more attention from the dog than just walking straight and steady. So I like to get a little bit of maneuvering going on earlier on, in addition to leading the dog with the leash. So now I've got that. We're going to do a left-hand square drill or left-hand square exercise. And every time I get ready to turn, I'm going to slow Ray down first, and then I'm going to turn. What I'm not doing is racing the dog to get the left turn down. We don't want to race the dog. You want to slow it down so your dog understands exactly what it is that you're asking. So slow him down, I'm going to turn, slow him down, I'm going to turn. And on the straight legs, when he's trying to sniff, if he's trying to go to the left, if he's trying to cut behind me, I'm using the leash. It's just shy of tight, and I'm preventing all of the excessive movement to keep him more on track with me. So I'm not letting him sniff. I'm not letting him check out. I want to maintain his awareness of me as much as possible. When you build a really good habit of your dog maintaining awareness of you while you're moving on the walk, you're going to be in a much better place when it comes to behavior, and you're going to be in a much better place when it comes to behavior when your dog gets a little distracted. So this is a little bit of input. The conversation is here. I'm telling Ray, when I slow down, to slow down with me. This is a conversation, right? So this is input, not necessarily corrections. So I'm turning, and then I'm going to do one more here to the left, and then we're going to switch it and go to the right. And then we're just going to walk down the road a little bit. Slow them down, turn to the left, or sorry, to the right. Come on, there we go. So I'm going to indicate. Come on. And then I'm going to guide with that leash ever so slightly. If you're doing this yourself with your own dog, then it's likely that you're giving a little bit of light guidance too. But there are a good number of you out there whose dogs will not respond to light input. Ray is a very light dog. Now, I don't mean light as in weight. I'm talking about how he responds to pressure. He's light with the leash pressure. So with the leash pressure, for a lot of dogs that may not respond to light leash pressure, you might have to firm up your leash pressure. So your action with the leash might be a little bit more stronger. If your dog isn't responding to it at all, when you're doing it a little bit stronger, then you might need to strengthen it a little bit more, and or do more maneuvers where you're teaching your dog how to maneuver and move with you and not just walking straight and steady. So if you have a dog that requires firmer leash pressure, that's okay. Your dog's normal volume for a conversation may be a little bit higher than a dog that's a little bit more low-toned in their conversation. So even if you're doing a little bit firmer, if you have a type of dog that just requires a little bit of firmer guidance because they just are a tougher dog, physically tougher, that doesn't mean you're correcting them either. It's just that's how that dog receives the communication. With Ray, I could have actually put the leash on and just walked. And there's a lot of dogs you can do that with too. I like to do the maneuvers because it gives a little bit more information to the dog before I actually start walking. A lot of times you'll have to pay really close attention to even see when I'm giving input because he's just so good, and also the input for him is just really light. Now, if you have a dog that's pulling, trying to get ahead of you a lot, then it will be added benefit to your prong action would be if you give some input and slow your pace and then slowly resume a little bit of a faster pace, but still slow, and then you slow down and give your dog input. So you're showing your dog how to slow down with you instead of maintaining the same speed and then trying to slow the dog down. If your dog is constantly trying to get ahead of you, to slow the pace down and then do a nice tight left hand 180 to a stop at the end. And then you resume. And this is where the maneuvers come in. If you have a dog that's constantly trying to get ahead, then the maneuvers are going to help you a lot more. In fact, I would like to do more maneuvers in a tight area, in a small space, than trying to walk down the street, right, or down the sidewalk. I want to get that dog really, really aware of me through having him learn to maneuver with me. I think Ray is going to become a favorite around here. And I'm not talking about how easy it is to get him started on day one. I'm more talking about he just has like this cool personality, right? Now, the personality that I'm experiencing right now is not the same as what they experience at home with the family. Because at home with the family, he's a different dog. He's been conditioned to have a different demeanor. Here we have a dog we're conditioning a little bit more of a calmer state so that we can have the dogs better behaved in the long run. That does not mean you can't get your dog excited and have fun, because it's easy to get a dog excited and have fun and do stuff. It's usually not easy to help them learn how to calm down. So if you work on the harder skill first, you're going to have the best of both worlds. All right, guys, if you are having trouble with your dog on walks, then you owe it to your dog to help them learn how to walk with you and how to follow your lead. You're going to have a much better life with your dog once you're able to achieve that. So if you're struggling, you owe it to you already made the commitment to get to your dog anyway by adopting your dog, so now you owe it to your dog to follow through and help them the rest of the way. So if you're struggling on walks, hopefully some of the stuff in this video will help you. If it does, then send me a message. I want to know how it worked for you. And if you have any follow-up questions, post them below and we'll be able to address them for you in a future video. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button so that you can get notified when we upload new videos. Until then, thanks for sticking with me. This is Ray. My name is CJ Quick. That's Natasha on the camera. Thanks so much for videoing today, Natasha. Really appreciate it, and can't wait to see you in the next one.